It's like doing pants surgery, buddy.
I was thinking.
Oh my.
I'll just think. I know.
Good one. Hey, geez.
Hi, crafty people. Today we're here to share with you the clothes that I mended or altered for the kids over the winter season. I have here with me my two oldest kids. I have Elijah, who is 5, and I have Isabel, who's 3.5, and they're showing you some of the clothes that I have changed for them.
So these are my black pants, and I've got my yellow jumper with new zips.
That's right. How about you, Izzy? What are you wearing?
I have some red, and I like it, so I like it.
If this is your first time on my channel, then welcome. My name is Marie, and this channel is all about motivating mums to make and mend. So I have with me here a big pile of clothing, which is all the stuff that I've mended or altered for this season, and I'll be going through each of the categories and how I mended that type of clothing. I'll be sharing with you today a lot of the common problems I see coming up with the wear and tear of my kids' clothing, and also as they grow, how I extend the life of their clothing so that their clothes can grow with them and suit them for another season.
Is that a big pile?
So I hope the what I share with you is helpful for you, and if it is, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. So with all of that being said,
Let's get making!
great, ready? 1, 2, 3, let's get
making! My mum mends winter clothes.
So the first thing that I fixed for the kids were these jumpers that they're wearing. They were finding that these jumpers were a bit tight over their heads when they were trying to put them on, and also my kids prefer to have zip-up jumpers so they're easy to get on and off. So instead of having them be just pull over your head jumpers, I've cut them down the middle and added these zips in. So Elijah here has this yellow jumper here, and I've added this zip in for him.
I'll show you how it zips.
Go for it. Little demonstration. Very good. And Isabel here has this red jumper, and I couldn't find a zip to match, so the zip that she has matches some of the little animals on her jumper
Can I
instead.
zip it?
Sure, give us a demonstration.
Zip, 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 zip.
I unpicked the part where the two sides of the hood overlap each other, and then I marked the center point of the hoodie so that I was able to cut the whole hoodie right down the middle. To attach the zip, I put the right side of the zip down on the right side of the jumper and pinned down that side, and did the same with the other side, making sure to line it up on the bottom so that they would be even when I finished. It did mean that the zip was slightly long for the jumper, so there was a bit of overhang at the top there. With both sides pinned in place, I opened out my zip and used the zipper foot on my sewing machine to sew nice and close to the zipper teeth to attach both sides of the zip onto the jumper. I did a little test run to make sure that the zip closed properly. When I was happy with it, I then did a top stitch down both sides of the zip. This was to make sure that the zip lay flat and that the seam underneath was flat against the back side of the jumper so it wasn't flipping up, which would make it harder to use and also not look as nice. Then, to finish off the top part of the zip that was kind of flapping around at the top and hanging off, I pushed it up into the part of the hood that I had unpicked at the beginning, sort of between the hood lining and the main part of the hood. And then I ran a stitch over that part to hold it in place, which closed over the hole that I'd unpicked at the beginning, and it also encased the top of the zip to make it look really neat.
I think it was a really good move to do this by cutting them down the middle and adding these zips in, because it has extended the life of them. They haven't grown out of them because they were too tight on their heads. And it also has made it so that they are easier for them to get on and off independently, which I am all about. So the next category I'm going to share with you today is about the pants that they're both wearing. I find that my kids outgrow the length of their pants before they do the waist of their pants. And so this is a way that I extend the life of their pants so that they can use them for another season. When the pants they wore last season, they still fit them in the waist, but they were too short. So what I did was, Elijah's pants were getting too short, so they were coming up to here. So I extended them by adding some ribbing to make a cuff at the bottom so that they would be long enough for him for this season. And the same for Isabel, although she's kind of sitting funny, so they look like they're too short, but they fit her when she's standing up. So along with the pairs that they're wearing, where Elijah's got black pants and I added some black cuffs, Izzy's got these grey pants with the red cuffs. I also had 2 more pairs each, so these ones for Elijah.
I'll put them on.
I added, no, don't put them on yet. I added some yellow cuffs on the bottom of his navy blue pants. And on Isabel's blue pants, I added some navy blue cuffs on the bottom. It's not quite the same colour, but it'll do the trick. And because these trackies are just play clothes, it doesn't really matter to me if they aren't quite the exact same colour.
Making cuffs on these pants was very beginner friendly. It's a very easy process. The longest part was this beginning part, trying to unpick the original hem, but other than that, it really didn't take long to complete this mending project at all. To work out how big to cut the cuff, I used my flexible tape measure to measure the circumference around the leg hole, and then I multiplied that by 0.8 to give me the length that I was going to cut my cuff. So I cut 2 rectangles the same size with that length, and the height that I cut the cuff is twice as high as I want the actual finished product cuff to look, because it is folded in half. Then I took the 2 short sides of my cuff and sewed them together to make a tube, and I folded the cuff over on itself so that the 2 raw edges of the cuff were against each other. I matched up those 2 raw edges of the cuff to the raw edge of the pants, and I had to stretch it in order for it to fit around the pant leg. Then I sewed it together using a zigzag stitch because the ribbing is a stretchy fabric, so you will need a stretchy stitch. And then I finished it off by top stitching all the way around the bottom of my hem.
So that is one way that I altered their pants so that they fit them for a new season. I added cuffs on the bottom of them so that the pants that still fit them on the waist but were too short were now lengthened, ready for this season. There was another way that I changed some of their pants. I've got them here. So we might change into these pants and then talk about these next. What do you reckon? Yeah. All right, we'll do a little switcheroo of some clothes, okay?
Ready, set, jump. Good one.
So the kids have changed into their next set of clothing so that I can show you what I changed on these sets of pants for them. So like I said, they often outgrow the length of their pants before they outgrow the waist. So these pants here are pants that I've bought in a length that fits them, but that meant that the waist was too big. So what did I have to do with these ones, do you know?
Yeah, take the drawstring out.
Take the drawstring out. So these pants, Elijah's right, I took the drawstring out, and what did I put in instead, do you know?
Elastic.
Elastic, great. So like they said, I took the drawstring out of these pants and instead I put in elastic, which will bring the waist in the same as the drawstring, but it means they can do it themselves because it's a bit hard to tie a drawstring when you're only 3 and 5.
Yeah, because when you do it, it's hard to tie your pants up when you finish on the toilet.
Yeah. So to make it easier for them to use the toilet independently, I've taken the drawstring out and added some elastic to draw the waist in so that they can use their pants independently, and also so that they are not going to fall down when they're running and playing.
So what we're doing is unpicking the stitches here in the back that are holding the drawstring together, and then we are pulling out the drawstring. So we've taken all the drawstrings out for these pants. So now the drawstring's out, we're going to check how big of a piece of elastic that you need, Elijah.
Yeah.
Then we're going to thread it in here, zigzag stitch the edges together, and sew up the hole that we made when we were taking the drawstring out. Done? Cool. I always find it more accurate to put the pants on the child and then adjust the elastic so that it's the right tightness, rather than just measuring their waist and going from there. It just makes it a little bit more specific. So once you've got the right length of elastic to suit your child, you're going to snip off the end and zigzag stitch the 2 ends of the elastic together, and then push the elastic back into the casing and sew the hole closed that you threaded the elastic through.
Both of the pairs of pants that they're wearing now, I have done that too, changed the waist, and the same as these ones here as well. These
same as these.
and those. Yep, all of these pants I've done the same thing and adjusted the waist, and one more pair which are now in the wash because Izzy wore them today. So I've adjusted the waist on all of those pairs of pants, ready for them to wear this season. The next category of things that I fixed were things that had holes in it, and this was by far the largest category of things that I needed to fix. The shirt that Isabel's wearing had a very big hole under the armpit, which I've patched up now. A little demonstration there, Izzy. Very good. Yeah, you can have a look. See, look.
Where?
It's not there anymore. I fixed it.
There.
Yeah. Do you remember when it was had a hole in it?
You should have showed the camera.
Guns are down. I did show the camera, mate. So there were a few items of clothing where I needed to fix the seam, where the seam had split, which was the case for the sleeve of this shirt, and these leggings of Alice's, and these stockings that Alice has as well. All of these, the seams had split, so I needed to sew the seams back together again. So with each of these 3 items of clothes, I just realigned where the fabric was meant to be that had split away from the seam, and then I just ran it through my sewing machine with a over edge stitch, or you could use a zigzag stitch, to reattach the seam where it was meant to be. So this pile of clothing here are all the things that had tiny little holes in it that I had to hand sew up in order to fix them. So I had some pants of Elijah's, and actually some pants from all of them that had holes mostly in the knees, but some of them had little holes in other places as well. I also had a jumper of Alice's and a little sleeper of Ruben's where his toe had poked through in the foot part, or it might have actually been one of the other kids, and it was like that when we handed it down to him. But all of these things I needed to hand sew up the holes on.
Most of the holes that I needed to hand sew, I just did in front of the TV, so I was nice and comfy. But these ones here I did for you on camera, just showing you just thread a hand sewing needle that's as close in colour to the clothing item that you're fixing, and then use small stitches to close over the hole. I usually use a ladder stitch. If you don't know how to do a ladder stitch, I'll link one of my early videos where I explain it down below. It's not the best quality video, but if you need to learn how to do a ladder stitch, just have a look on that one.
So we're down to our last 2 items of clothing that I mended. This little shirt here, it had a button missing in the middle, so I just unpicked one of the buttons at the top and moved it down because it's a little less obvious that there's a missing button if it's the one at the top than when it was the one right in the middle. So I did that. That was a pretty quick fix. And the very last thing that I fixed was this dress of Isabel's, and the head hole was getting a little bit tight. I made the neckband too small, so I chopped off the neckband and made a new one and sewed it on.
I cut around the neckband a bit to make it a bit wider, and then I used my tape measure to measure how long around the neck hole was. Then to cut out the neckband, I did a length of 0.8 times the length of the neck hole, and that way the neckband will sit flat instead of being bunched up once it's stretched around the hole. I made the neckband into a tube, and then I folded it in half over itself and sewed the raw edge sides of the neckband against the raw edge of the neck hole. If you want to see the video where I originally made this dress, I'll leave that video linked in the description box, and it goes through a bit more detail about attaching a neckband if you need it.
Luckily, I still had leftovers of this fabric so that it will fit you a bit better now.
Yeah.
So that's good. So I did that as well, so we're all done. So there you have it. This is the big pile of clothing that I have mended and altered for my kids this season. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and that you have either found it to be helpful for you or at least entertaining maybe. And if you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like down below. You can also subscribe to come back and watch some of our future content. Expect chaos in every video. If you'd like to see a bit of what I'm up to during the week, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. And until next time, go get creative and we'll
See you later!